What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with MMA community not happy with Khalil Rountree's statement. Leading up to Khalil Rountree's upcoming fight with Alex Pereira, the streaking contender has made it clear that he has no plans to grapple with the champ. During a recent interview with Michael Bisping, Rountree went so far as to say that if one of his coaches asked him to wrestle against Alex Pereira, he would opt to look for a different coach. As he explained, quote, "If it were my coach, I'd say maybe I need to look for another coach. It doesn't make sense. I'm not a wrestler. Yes, I'm a mixed martial artist. I'm able to do a lot of different things. My grappling is good. My wrestling is decent, but that's just not me. That's not my instinct. And so why would I put myself in harm's way to try to secure this victory when that's just not me? That's just not my style." The MMA community was quick to weigh in on the comments, with many in disbelief. As the Weasel wrote, "Light heavyweight has regressed to the mid-2000s, where fighters have one martial art that they fight with. Khalil says he can wrestle, but he doesn't want to. This is like if fighters only wrestled Khabib and refused to strike with him." Another wrote, "Ain't no way, LMAO. What's the deal with everyone trying to lose to Alex?" One took aim at the top contenders at 205, writing, "It's honestly sad. I doubt anyone is going to beat Alex because they just never have the right game plan. I even think Ankalaev is going to try to show too much striking and get leg kicked into the realm and die. To beat Alex, I believe you need to shoot a takedown first minute into the round." Another joked, "The entire light heavyweight division has CTE." Another asked, "Why does everyone insist on fighting Alex on the feet, LOL?" One member of the MMA community begged Rountree to reconsider, writing, "Khalil, don't do it. Please wrestle Alex." During a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Rogan weighed in on the fight as well.
Yeah, he's fighting in Salt Lake City against Rountree, and that's a wild fight, man. That's a wild fight. A lot of people say, "Oh, Rountree doesn't deserve it." Let me tell you something. Rountree fights like you just killed his family and lit his house on fire. That dude's coming for you.
Yeah.
He's coming for everybody.
And stylistically, it's just...
He's not going to shoot a takedown.
Yeah.
There'll be no takedowns. He's dangerous, man.
With fight night rapidly approaching, it'll be interesting to see if Rountree sticks to his plan and strikes with Pereira when the two share the octagon on October 5th. Next up, let's take a look at Merab Dvalishvili reacts to Dana White angry at him. Late last month, Merab Dvalishvili showed fans a cut that he sustained in training that required stitches. With Dvalishvili's UFC 306 headlining bout against Sugar Sean O'Malley rapidly approaching, Dana White took aim at the machine for posting about the cut rather than keeping it quiet. However, according to the #1 contender, he does not regret his decision. During a recent interview with MMA Junkie, he reflected on his decision to make the cut public while also reacting to Dana White's criticism, saying, quote, "I never regret what I did. I post this because I post everything in my social media. It wasn't a big deal because I had more than 3 weeks when I got cut, and I know that my cut will take 5 days to heal up, and then this cut didn't affect my training, my sparring, nothing. As you see, I'm healed up. Everything is good." When I saw Dana was upset, of course, I don't want to upset Dana White and the UFC or do something like that. But I was very calm and relaxed because it wasn't a big deal. Dvalishvili's cut wasn't the only thing making headlines in recent weeks. On the heels of the machine traveling to Mexico before UFC 306, Sean O'Malley and Tim Welsh weighed in on the trip and Dvalishvili's apparent drinking on a recent episode of the Timbo Sugar Show.
We basically said he was fake drinking, but the dance moves were sick.
The dance moves were good, but I wonder if he went there to actually like get some boxing work with a random coach a week out from the fight.
Dude, honestly, why else would he go to Tijuana other than maybe make that video? Maybe that couldn't have been his main goal. I'm gonna make a funny video, it's gonna go viral. Or if it was gonna go spar with these boxers, probably spar or get hair implants, one of the two.
With the card right around the corner, anticipation is at an all-time high. Next up, let's take a look at Joe Rogan reacts to Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. Since joining the UFC in 2020, Tom Aspinall has only seen a second round once, when he submitted Andrei Arlovski in the second round of their 2021 scrap in Las Vegas. While Aspinall has been incredibly dominant, Belal Muhammad and Joe Rogan recently wondered how Aspinall would perform beyond the first round now that he's in a position to compete against the best fighters the sport has to offer. During a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Muhammad and Rogan spoke about Tom Aspinall's dominance so far and the potential fight between him and Jon Jones.
It's a bit of a problem for him, right? Because he has not been tested in that way. And, you know, you're getting up to elite status where you're calling out Jon Jones.
Yeah.
Right? That's the boogeyman. Like, Jon Jones is the boogeyman. But the skill set and the ability to push deep into rounds is nuts. He's so fast for a heavyweight. But again, you're saying the right thing. Like, what is it like in the 5th round with Jon Jones? Because if you can't steamroll John Jones and he starts side kicking your kneecaps, you know,
There's nobody better with distance than John.
the best.
While it's remained unclear whether or not John Jones will retire after his upcoming scrap with Stipe Miocic, many, including Daniel Cormier, have theorized that Aspinall repeatedly calling out Jones and accusing him of ducking could bait the champion into a fight, depending on how things play out against Stipe Miocic. Next up, let's take a look at Shavkat Rakhmonov fires back at Belal Muhammad. Although nothing's been finalized yet, the trash talk is beginning to heat up between Belal Muhammad and Shavkat Rakhmonov, with the newly minted champ looking to return to action and defend his title before the end of the year, and Rakhmonov eager to secure a title fight. The two have continued to take shots at one another on social media. Amid their ongoing back and forth on social media, Muhammad took aim at the Nomad, vowing to break the undefeated contender. I think for myself, I see weaknesses in Shavkat that I'm going to exploit. I go into the fights and I look at my opponent's weaknesses, and I take him there. I take him to where they're uncomfortable. So Shavkat looks like he's not uncomfortable now because he's undefeated. But these undefeated guys, like I dealt with Sean Brady, I know how to make him uncomfortable. And once I make him uncomfortable, I know how to break him. So I think that's where it's going to go with Shavkat. I want to make him uncomfortable, and then he's going to realize that there's levels to this. And I think it's going to end up being a finish. In response, Rakhmonov took to social media, writing, 18 fighters before you tried, and I finished them all. Meanwhile, in 18 UFC fights, you've only finished 3 opponents. The UFC belt doesn't give you superpowers, brother. It just seems to have made you delusional. So far, a fight between Muhammad and Rakhmonov has yet to be finalized. However, Muhammad recently made it clear that he would prefer to fight the Nomad over Kamaru Usman, given the former champ's 3-fight skid. Next, let's take a look at UFC updates. On the heels of this week's Dana White Contender Series card, let's take a look at today's UFC fight updates, starting with a new addition to the upcoming UFC 306 card at the Sphere on September 14th. According to reports, Edgar Chairez will now fight Joshua Van after Chairez's original opponent, Kevin Borjas, was forced out of their scheduled fight on short notice. Chairez will be looking to build on a victory over Daniel Lacerda back in February. On the flip side, Van will look to bounce back after a KO loss to Charles Johnson. In addition, the UFC Fight Night Paris card scheduled for September 28th has a short notice replacement as well. After Ludovic Klein's original opponent, Nicholas Mota, withdrew from their scheduled fight, Roosevelt Roberts will now be stepping in on short notice to fight Klein following a UFC 295 loss to Mateusz Rebecki. Last up, we also have a change to the UFC Fight Night Edmonton card scheduled for November 2nd. While a fight between Rose Namajunas and Aaron Blanchfield was expected to headline the card, Dana White announced that the UFC has since booked a flyweight fight between Brandon Moreno and Amir Albazi for the main event, while shifting the Namajunas-Blanchfield fight to the co-main event. Moreno will be looking to snap a 2-fight skid that most recently saw him fall to Brandon Royval, while on the flip side, Albazi will be looking to build on a win streak inside the octagon going all the way back to 2020. Next, let's take a look at Aljamain Sterling doubles down on bold claim. Aljamain Sterling's recent comments comparing Sean O'Malley's rise in the UFC to Jake Paul's run in boxing weren't the only controversial comments made by the former champ in recent weeks. Ahead of the clash with Movsar Evloev at UFC 307, Sterling has taken aim at the undefeated contender, accusing him of using performance-enhancing drugs. While he explained that he doesn't have concrete proof, he's heard through the grapevine that Evloev isn't a clean fighter. During a recent appearance on Home of Fight, Sterling spoke about the situation, doubling down on his accusations from late last month.
From what I've heard through the grapevine, he's not a clean athlete. And I think that's just what it comes down to. And people can say whatever, you have no proof. I think where there's smoke, there's fire. Do I have any hard evidence? Like, did I see the guy stick a needle up his ass? No. Did he pop for anything yet? No. Maybe he never will. But at the end of the day, only him and his consciousness will know if he's truly a clean athlete. And I really do believe he does. I truly do believe he knows he's cheated.
With a featherweight title fight potentially in store for the winner, the stakes couldn't be higher for both Sterling and Evloev heading into UFC 307. Next up, let's take a look at Dan Hooker calls out Dustin Poirier and Michael Chandler. After defeating Mateusz Gamrot in Perth, Dan Hooker currently finds himself sitting in 5th place in the UFC's lightweight rankings. During a recent interview with Combat TV, Hooker explained that he has his sights set on a rematch with either Michael Chandler or Dustin Poirier, both of whom hold wins over him. As Hooker explained, the last time he was ranked inside the top 5, he made a quote-unquote series of stupid decisions when it came to his fights. Because of that, and the fact that he trained for both the Chandler fight and the Poirier fight in his garage, the Hangman wants to run things back. Someone pointed out to me on Twitter like Chandler and Poirier are bragging about me. And it's like, bro, you're bragging about beating me on 3 weeks notice training in my garage. Like, don't say my name unless you're gonna run it back. Keep my name out of your mouth unless you want to fight me again, because I'm coming for all of them. Anyone above me, I'm coming for a lot of them. So if they want to brag about it, they can fight me again. If you don't want to fight me again, then shut up about my name, and I'll skip past you and I'll leave you be, and then that's it. As Hooker explained, he considers anybody ahead of him in the rankings a potential opponent, which means the streaking contender has his sights set on Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Charles Oliveira, or Arman Tsarukyan. Major concerns rise for UFC 306 as Dana White revealed that the gate will be a record sellout of 21 million, but there are still about 1,700 tickets remaining, which would be unusual for an event of this size. Kevin Iiola broke the news by tweeting, "Dana said today that there are about 1,700 tickets remaining for Noche UFC. Expects a sellout and said the gate will be a UFC record $21 million. Huge night for Nevada Athletic Commission with Canelo doing massive gate down the street." The MMA community was quick to roast the event by saying, according to Trent Rainsmith in Forbes early in August, UFC CEO Dana White predicts that the gate for the event will be anywhere from $25 to $27 million. This before multiple rounds of pullbacks and price reductions. Financially, a flop decision to book a show there from Dana and team. O'Malley isn't as big of a draw as he thinks he is. There are 1,832 primary and 1,686 resales. Even with the constant cuts they made on ticket pricing, the $21 million claim is far lower than what it should be, suggesting that the UFC is selling tickets to secondary brokers at highly reduced prices or just having Turkey buy them. I bet Turkey bought half them tickets and gave them out as complimentary to save face. LOL, because Sugar isn't a star like the UFC claims he is. The UFC is really lacking true stars these days.
Obviously, the technology of the Sphere is all new, so you have to shoot in a different format than you normally do, and you know, the thing is with us is we don't cut corners. We do everything the right way. All the work is done. Now it's about rehearse. And there's limited times that we can get. We're getting in there at like 1 till 7 in the morning because of their schedule, but it's all about rehearsing now. And to try to explain to you how complex this show is and how many moving pieces and parts there are to pulling this thing off, it's all about all the bells and whistles are done. Now it's about execution. You know, I've sat in there and I've looked at the stuff already, and I literally looked at Craig Borsari and said, yeah, you know, you're gonna have to show me anything else. I can get up and go right now. I'm good. It's gonna be awesome. It's just about execution now.
Top comments. Once again, Belal's fantasy fight ends in a decision. Belal saying he got better boxing than Strickland is mental. Alex moving down is a big brain move from him. He doesn't risk his title and he gets the chance to hold both titles and test his takedown defense against DDP, which will help him against Ankalaev later when they fight. The UFC needs to stop these guys from effing around and holding up divisions.